Oh, hold on a second. Okay.
Oh, I know what I can do. Let me see.
Okay, Rick.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to play the Kobe Bryant thing, and then as soon as it go off, pick up.
Yeah, how long is it?
2 minutes. Man.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Young. This is another segment of What's in Your Hand. We are broadcasting via GHCR, and I have a very, very special guest on the line right now. I also like to say that he took a few cups of love. He took 1 tablespoon of patience, 1 tablespoon of generosity, 1 pint of kindness. He took 1 quart of laughter, 1 pinch of concern. Then he mixed willingness with happiness and added lots of faith. He stirred it up well, and then he spread it all over a span of a lifetime and served it to each and every deserving person that he met. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Muhammad Ali. And that goes right into my guest today. He's the author of a runaway bestseller, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. It's been transformed into many different languages. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Dr. Herbert Harris. Dr. Harris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ricky Young, and you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. So I'm comparing you to the great Muhammad Ali, because I feel that you have done some magnificent work sharing your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding.
Well, I love the comparison, man. I do the best I can with what I have to do it with.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for today spending this Memorial Day motivational weekend and sharing a positive motivational message. I really appreciate that.
Well, only for you, Ricky.
Right. Now, how many languages has the 12 Universal Laws of Success been written in?
I think it's been translated into 9 languages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what edition are we on now?
Oh, this is the Superachiever edition. We are about, well, as far as printings, we've had over 200 printings. And this is about actually the 6th edition if we start from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we get started, I like to do a segment called Above and Beyond. Can you tell me about a place that you went for service or business or contact or someone that just really treated you magnificent from their business, their service, where you felt like they went above and beyond and really took care of you?
Absolutely, Ricky. Service is something that, I don't know, it's becoming a rare commodity. I was in, as a matter of fact, I was out in Laguna Beach, California, and on a business trip, and the hotel there, magnificent hotel, but they were so service oriented that, you know, when you come in, all you had to do is sign in. Your bags were handled. I can't figure how did they get your bags? I mean, they had it all together. And someone walked you to your room and told you about the amenities, you know. I mean, it was so personalized. Mm-hmm. And throughout the trip, it was that kind of thing. But the thing that really got it we were there, I think, about 7 days. And we were getting ready to leave, and Sandra had gone to the spa. I was out with the guys doing a round of golf, and that's a whole nother story. When you see me on a golf course, run, okay? But we got back, and the bus was a little late picking us up to take us to the airport. And when we got back home, we were unpacking, and we got a call. We were listening to, as we were unpacking, we listened to the messages. Sandra had left all of her jewelry that she travels with in the drawer in the hotel. And they actually called us to tell us that she had left it before we even know she had left it. Mm-hmm. So that was above and beyond, because jewels are virtually untraceable. Okay. We may not have even been sure that we left them there. We might have thought there were so many things that could have happened. We had thought that they got stolen from the baggage people in the airport. But that was so above and beyond anything I'd ever seen, man. It renewed my faith in human beings and just bolstered it, saying that most people really want to do the right thing. And it uplifted us at a time when it's important to know that there are a lot of good people out there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So we need to get down to this positive message, Memorial Day motivation. And I'm wearing the cap. My cap says, there's greatness in you. And of course, we know, Dr. Harrison, there's definitely greatness in you. And we know that. I want to thank you for sharing your greatness with the world and with many people as you have. So thank you for that on this Memorial Day weekend, motivational weekend. Thank you. We talked once you broke this down to me so magnificent, it blew my mind. When I asked you the difference between key to success, laws of success, and the success principles, you broke it down. Can you kind of run by that real quick? Not real quick, but can you run by that? Because, I mean, the way you broke that down was just
well, Ricky, we speak in the moment. We said you had the keys, you had the laws, and you have the principles. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, these days, they're really beginning to merge. The key is a sense of that thing that you need to know to get where you want to go. You know, a key is like an idea that when you hear it, you go like, yeah, that's it. That's it. You know, you hear something like Thomas Edison, and he says, the only thing, the way to beat failure is to try one more time. And so that's one of those success keys. These are little things that once you know it, you go like, wow, that's a good one. The key of hanging in there, like Muhammad Ali, I think of the rumble in the jungle. And his key was like, the key to success, one key is refuse to lose.
Right.
And so, when George Foreman had basically punched himself out, now Ali took a lot of punishment, but that's one of those keys. If you want it badly enough, you're willing to stand up and take whatever the punishment is, because in the end, you will be victorious. So keys are those little things that you find. And the interesting thing about keys is you find them when you need them. So someone once said, well, the key was there all along. Yes, it was. But it's in your moment of need that you see it. You can have this book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. Many people tell me how they've had the book in their closet, in their bookshelf for many years. And then one day, something happened that made them, let me look in this book. And that day they opened it to the very page they needed to open it to. So those are like the keys, those little nuggets that you find at a time of need. And the interesting thing about a key is this: the foundation is seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened. Ask and it shall be answered. And so it's a very key point. It's an important point that when you look for the key, you'll find it. The thought of the laws, and these are, you might say, the external laws, in a sense that these are laws operate, laws tell you how things operate. And laws always function. So you have different levels of laws. You have the physical laws, like the law of gravity, But even the physical laws can vary. can be varied. You know, we think of time and relativity. There's a period where time can slow down. There's times in the gravitational field where things can change things. But basically, the idea of laws is these are the thoughts, the rules by which the game is played. You know? Principles are almost interpretation of the law. So, example, the first law of success says, as a mind thinketh, as a man, as a woman, as a person thinketh in their heart, so are they. So that's a law. Your mind, your heart bring about your reality. The principle now says that you must be in control of your thoughts. The principle says that this law exists, but it will only operate on your behalf when you control your emotions, when you control your body, when you control your instincts. And so principles give a bigger interpretation of the law in a very personal way. Example, the law of change, the second law of success. Be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. So now that's a law. Okay. But in the principle, in the application of the law now, the law says, don't worry about what's going on around you. Be not conformed to this world. But the principles say, man, I'm in the middle of a mess. Okay. I'm surrounded by people I can't trust. Events are happening that I have no control over. But the principle says, if you believe, if you operate and say, hey, you hold that thought that you want to be, do, and have, that new thought. Don't worry about all the things going on around you. Don't worry about your past failures, your past disappointments. That if you think a new thought, you think victory. You know, back to Ali, you know, think about it. In that George Foreman fight, you know, Ali had laid off for 5 years because of the government's attack on him. And over that 5 years, as far as a fighter, that's really your prime. Okay. That's something you can't get back. So when you have situations like that, there's never justice. There can't be justice because you cannot give back to him. In the law, you said justice is where you try to restore the parties to their rightful position. But when somebody has stolen 5 years from you, that you can't get back. So Ali started out basically with a handicap. Okay, he was back beyond his prime, and he had a number of fights for which he had not necessarily trained sufficiently. There was so much going on at the time. But the principle said, example, the law of command. What was Ali's mantra? I am the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember in the beginning when he said that, a lot of people said, man, that guy is so arrogant.
Right.
Yeah, you know, he is absolutely arrogant. He is, you know, like, I don't understand how anybody could say that. He's just yapping. But over the time, he backed it up. And he came to that point where you can say, that fella is the greatest. And I remember at the Olympic when he lit the torch that time, that was like the whole world paying homage and saying, you are the greatest. So
right.
All those things work together, my brother.
Right. Now you said, one time you said, hey, I'm in a mess. But what if that mess is leading you to be blessed?
Well, that's what messes generally do. When you find yourself in a situation, there's always a reason for every situation that you're in. Sometimes the purpose of the situation is to teach you a lesson, what not to do. Again, right. Okay. Sometimes it's to teach you the lesson that you just need to be a little more confident. You know, as a fighter, if you come into that ring and you don't have that feeling of confidence that you have the ability to do certain things, then you can lose, not because your level of skill was insufficient, simply because you didn't have a strong enough belief in yourself.
Wow. Well, you know, this is a motivational Memorial Day, motivational weekend message. And this is a tough one right now. This is a tough question. There are a lot of people that go through life with poverty thinking, a poverty mindset. Can you speak to that?
Well, your mindset is always a choice.
Yes.
And so many times people don't like to acknowledge that they choose it. I mean, our circumstances and our conditions can have a big impact on our finances, on our wealth level, on our level of wealth, on our level of success. But the power of the success philosophy, the law of thought says, as a man, as a mind, as a woman thinketh in their heart, in other words, the feeling nature, that whatever you think and feel on the same vibration level, the feeling is the vibration that attracts the thing to you. And so the law says, whatever you think and feel, you get. And the second law says, change your thinking, you change your situation. And so when people stay stuck in poverty, it's really a choice. I mean, a lot of times folks don't like to hear that, but we may not have control over the circumstances of life, but we always have control over our response to it.
Right. So when you take a gun and you go shoot up a school with a bunch of children in there, or shoot anybody, that's poverty thinking. Poverty thinking.
That's
right?
negative thinking.
Right.
Terrible thinking.
Right. Yeah. Same thing. So yeah, go in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the difference between, because I mean, I could give you a lot of examples of, because people's everyday actions will show poverty thinking. Their words, what they watch on TV, what they listen to, all of that's poverty thinking. Now, what's the difference between poverty thinking and abundant thinking?
Once again, it's the choice. You know, we often talk about the example of a glass being half empty or half full. It's the same glass, the same amount of water in the glass. But a positive thinker will say the glass is half full. And they'll feel that thought, man, the glass is half full. What does that vibration say? At some point, the glass is going to be full. There's that sense of anticipation that it's half full now and it's going to be full soon. That's abundant thinking. Poverty thinking is like, oh man, the glass is half empty. Okay. And soon there's going to be none. So if I'm looking at a business, for example, I'm an entrepreneur, and very often people say, well, I'm not going to get in that business because there's so many people in it now, everybody knows about it. So nobody's going to buy your stuff. That's the negative thinker. The positive thinker says, wow, I don't have to sell the concept. People already know about it. All I got to do is give a better one. So it's a choice, though, how you think. The Bible says, choose this day whom you will serve. You can choose to serve the negative glass, half empty, or you can choose to serve the positive glass. So many times, though, people let their circumstances cloud their situation so much. And so you can you can be in a mess, and that mess is so absorbing that you say to yourself, man, like there's nothing I can do. But there's always something you can do. You may, there's I think it was Eric Fromm, and he was talking about when he was, I think, in a concentration camp. And the way he kept himself sane, he kept thinking about being outside, thinking about what life would be like when he survived that, not if, when he survived it. And so that's the choice. You can choose to see the glass is half full, you see the glass is half empty. Another interesting example. You and I go to a party. You say that you walk in, man, the music is banging. They're playing all the music you love, all the oldies. The women are fine. Everybody's dancing. They smile. Hey, Ricky, how are you, Ricky? Man, long time. The DJ waves and gives you the power at night. And you say, man, this is an incredible party. Woo! Now I'm with you. Same party. Everybody looking at you. Hey, Ricky Young. I'm like, man, these people are all stuck up. Nobody said nothing to me. Okay. The music, I don't like those oldies. They don't have any hip hop. I want to hear this one. I want to hear that one. And the DJ, he looked too old to be up there playing records. He needed to go back home and buy some 8-track tapes. Same party. But I chose to think that way about the same reality that you chose to think another way.
Right. That's right. So let's take an example. The young man that shot the school up. Let's say, instead of saying, let me get a gun to shoot the school up, I'm going to find a way. I don't know how, but I'm going to find a way to raise $100,000 for that school. I'm going to raise $1 million for that school.
Yes.
What, you see the difference there? What difference would that make if he had that kind of abundant mindset?
Yes.
He doesn't have to know how. Does he have to know how he's going to do it? Can he just say, I'm determined and committed to do that?
Yes. But once again, that's a choice.
Yeah.
He could have made that choice, but see, our choices often, our mindset dictates our choices, and our choices dictate our mindset. And so our mind is a lot like a garden. So many of our young people now are exposed to so much negative information on the internet, on the games. When my grandson is here and I'm watching the games, and every single game is violent. The only time there's the basketball game they play in the football game, but everything else is shooting, cutting, knocking. There's one where the kids are walking down the street and they just hit somebody, knock them over, just clock them. And that's a game. So now we have that mindset going on. Unless I give my grandson a different alternative, he'll begin to think that's real and think that's the way to act.
Right.
So,
right.
And so when we look at like the person who killed the people, the young folks, the people in Texas, he made a choice to believe certain things. And see, the human mind and the subconscious mind is non-judgmental and non-selective. If you believe a lie, for you, that lie is a truth. And you will live on that lie. Look at the man in Buffalo. Somebody told him this lie, this replacement theory, that Black folks and Jewish people are going to replace white people. And his answer to it, his response to it was, let me go kill Black people. So once again, that was a choice, but he was operating on a mindset that he believed in. And as a result, he acted on. That's what's really scary now, because when people, when the media, when people know, there are certain powers that know that if you can convince people of a particular idea, whether it's true or not, it doesn't even have to be in their own best interests.
Right.
Okay, you can convince a person to hate somebody else, and if they really looked at each other's bank account, both of them are just as broke as each other. If you look at how they're living, both of them are living just as bad. But if you give them an idea that this person is taking something from you, that this person is replacing you in the job market, then they operate on a lie, and they'll hurt you, and they'll act according to that lie.
What is the characteristics of an HVHB?
A what?
HV, HB is a high valued human being. What is the characteristics of a HVHB, high valued human being? What are the characteristics?
Well, I think number one, they have to be clear on who they are and whose they are. I don't know if I can have a relationship with an atheist that I could trust. Because because when I know whose you are, when a person says, I am a child of God, I believe in God, okay, I believe in a source, I believe in a presence greater than myself. That's important to me, because if you don't have that kind of belief, then I don't know who you are. You're not predictable. Okay. Number two, a high value person has to love themselves. They really got to care about themselves. Once you know who and whose they are, it's important that they know who they are and who they are. A person can't love you if they don't love themselves.
Right.
Many times abusers are people who don't love themselves, people who have been abused in the past, and they perpetrate that same abuse on somebody else.
Right.
So a high value person's got to love themselves. They got to really have And I'm not taking an ego-based love. I'm talking a humanity-based love, a love that shows compassion. My mother used to say, if you want to judge a man, see how he treats his sisters, see how he treats his mother. Anything else is irrelevant because that's the true man. And so your source, love yourself, and then high value people have to understand and love other people. They have to have compassion. They have to have respect. They have to be honest. They have to value their word. I don't care how much a person talent they have, how much money they have. If they don't keep their word, in my book, they ain't worth a thing. And so keeping their word, that type of respect and relationship to other people. And then the fourth key is high value people understand materiality. And what I mean is this: when a person is ruled by materiality, if it's more important to them to have a Rolex watch, to have a big car, they may steal from you because that material possession is more important than the relationship with you. And so for me, those are really four pillars that a person really, that they understand their source, that they have a relationship with God, with a source. And doesn't matter what you call it, can be God. You know, there's all kind of religions, but there's one truth. Okay. They got to really love themselves, treat themselves well. You know, an alcoholic can't really tell me too much. Okay. I'll listen to him and be respectful. But if a man's destroying his own body, can he give me good advice? Okay. And they really have to have that compassion with other people. I think when we talk about the young man in Texas, or when we talk about the young man in Buffalo, that we are developing a group of young people who have no compassion, who operate on a whole nother mindset. And then that whole idea of the order of things, materiality is, you know, in the Bible, it says, seek first the kingdom, seek first the consciousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So when a person operates from that space, when they seek the consciousness, they say, hey, we can do this together. It's a positive thing. A person will say, there's got to be a win-win. If I got to do a deal and I'm going to make money and you're going to lose money, Ricky, okay, and I'm going to make money at your expense, then that's materiality is driving me. So that's how I, really look in high value people on those four foundations.
Right. I had heard a motivational psychologist say that people that are achievers, reach their goals, reach their dreams, and have success, they do so because of what they do, not who they are. Can you speak to that?
I don't know that that's true, because you always are who you are. You always bring yourself to the party. So you can even have a bad person do great things, but they're still a bad person. Okay. And so I think it's a combination. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both. You know, it's a who you are and it's a what you do. You know, very often we judge people by their possessions. You take people who win the lottery, like you say, okay, if I had $1 million, I'd be a really great person. Okay, so they hit the lottery. Now, the only thing that has changed is their bank account. Unless they actively change their mindset, unless they actively change their frame of reference, their emotional foundation, unless they actively change their habits, actively change their relationships, all the money does is magnify who they already were.
Right. Right. What is your definition of Black excellence?
Well, I don't know that there's a color. Excellence is excellence. I mean, we can tailor it. I think, I grew up in the segregated South, and when I look at the schools now that many of the children, period, but particularly Black children attend, I don't get that sense of excellence and even more of expectation of excellence. And so excellence means doing the very best you have, doing the very best you can with what you have to do it with. You know, as a boxer, when you go in the ring and you say, I left everything in the ring, whether you won or lost is really irrelevant, because as to you, you left everything in the ring. And so excellence is where you leave everything on the task, where you do it with a sense of care, concern, beauty, benefit, all those things. You are like an artist. Mm-hmm. So the idea that excellence is important, and for our young people, it's critical, because all of the advances that we have made in every area, in medicine, in psychology, in science, is because somebody wanted to do better. Somebody wanted to know more. The spiritual principle says, seek and you shall find, knocking it shall be opened, asking it shall be answered. If you're not seeking and knocking and asking, even if you get the answer, you won't even recognize it. So excellence is seeking always to do the very best you can with all that you have to do it with. And for Black folks, it's very important, because you're in a world, a competitive world, where there have been systemic and structural issues that have set you in a certain position. You know, isn't it interesting that the Congress could pass an anti-hate bill against Asian people in a day? And to this day, in 300, 400 years, they still can't pass an anti-hate bill against Black people. Isn't that interesting? So
they can't pass it?
They can't. They have not. You have said a bill.
Not. They have not.
Have not. You know, I mean, they just passed the anti-lynching bill to make lynching a federal crime just a few short years ago. It might even better be a year, but I mean, just very recently. And so when you look at that context of a world in which we live, Black excellence is important, because everybody respects excellence. Reverend Ike used to say, look, I ain't into this black and white thing. It's about green. If your green is enough, it doesn't matter whether you're black or white. That may not be absolutely true, but everybody respects a sense of excellence. You look at a Jackie Robinson. Now, he came along. If he wasn't an awesome player, if he's going to get out there and strike out every time, if he was slow running, if he couldn't hit the ball further than second base, you think we would have been where we are now, and that he would have been who he was? It was because he had a sense of excellence. And when Branch Rickey brought in, he said, "You're the best one I can find. If I'm gonna break this color line, I know you got to be better than the best."
So speaking of sports, I'm a sportsman. I was a boxer. So I grew up loving the game of basketball, playing it from a small child, playing on the monkey bars, playing puff basketball, and love the game of basketball. Still today, love the game of basketball. But let's look at sports as a whole. Mm-hmm. You notice certain teams, they're always winning.
Yes.
And so a guy was interviewed that used to play with the Golden State Warriors. They asked him, JaVale McGee, what is it about the Warriors? He said that they have a winning culture. You know, they went to this finals 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
And they back in the finals again, 6 times in 8 years. So JaVale McGee said they have a winning culture. So then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Can that culture be taken into businesses, into families, winning coaches into winning families, businesses? Is that possible? And how does that look? And how does that work? Dr. Herbert Harris.
Yes. The winning culture, it's a winning a mindset. Mm-hmm. And you can take it into anything. And one of the interesting things about sports that makes it very, very impactful, the mastermind principle. It says, when 2 or more gather on one accord, I am is the making power, the ability to get things done. I am among them. And so when you have a team and that team is on one accord, and that accord is that of excellence, it's like we're in this team, we're in this together, and the way that we will win is each of us is committed to do our very best. So when the ball comes to you and you open, shoot it. Okay. But now that sense of excellence now says that your team members are excuse me, your team members are counting on you to hit that basket. And so they have an expectation. But on the other side now, you know that you put in the work.
Bingo. There you go.
Yeah, you put in the work. You've been in the gym early. Your free throw percentage was down. What's the guy, that Yannick? I was watching him. His percentage was down. He got himself a free throw coach. He visualizes hitting it and he does it. And so that sense of excellence where everybody trusts each other. You remember that basketball? It was a movie, and I think it was I think Epps was in it. But in the movie, there was a guy in the movie who was a really great basketball player. And he wanted to give me the ball all the time. Give me the ball. Let me shoot the ball. Give me the ball. And so the coach said, hey, man, it's a team. There's 5 people out there on the field, right? And so they said, well, I'm the one. Give me the ball. And they say, okay, well, every rest of you guys sit down. Go ahead and play. He said, I can't play 5 guys. I'm by myself. Duh. That's the point. And so a winning attitude where you have everybody working on one accord, where you have confidence in the other guy. He's the open man. If we know that everybody's going to follow Curry, they're going to double team him. You know, somebody's going to be open. Somebody. And so all I got to do is get it to that open man and have confidence that he's going to shoot. When you see it's very interesting. When you look at a team and you see them at the end there and they don't want to take that shot. You know, Michael Jordan said that he had lost. He said he had taken the winning shot 300 times and missed or something. 29 times he took the winning shot and missed. Okay. But he said because he had that confidence to keep shooting, he became a winner. And so if the team doesn't have that thing, man, I mean, you look at the Nets, that team is, when you talk about raw talent, I mean, you got, what's his name?
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. You got, Kyrie Irving?
Kyrie Irving, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't get a sense of a synergy of the team. It's like 5 guys out there playing to win, as opposed to a team out there playing to win.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. As far as this thing called positivity, motivation, success principles, you believe that it works. You know that it works. If it works so good, why aren't more people doing it?
Well, number one, many people don't know the principles. You know, you think about it, they don't teach it in school.
Right.
You know? And when you don't have that, the schools have become so divided in the teaching, divided in the consciousness, divided in the students. And so you don't have any synergy there. You know, there's some good teachers and there's some trying to do it, but when you look at the overall picture, you don't really have that sense of teachers saying to the kids, you know, like, frankly, many times teachers just don't have time. You got 39 kids. You still got a life. You don't have time to sit down to each Johnny or each Mary and say, well, I see you can do this. You know, if you could do this, you could be better. You could be stronger. You need to learn how. So number one, they don't know the principles because nobody's teaching. Something as simple as budgeting. You're never going to make any serious money unless you learn how to budget. If you can't manage your money, I don't care how much money you make. You look at guys like Iverson, athlete, and he made millions. And I don't think he has any money left. And so you got to learn it. It's not, the information is not available. Number two, the leadership is not available. Somebody has to lead you. If you talk to almost any successful person, they'll tell you there was that one person who helped you, who believed in you, who guided you, who told you to do A, B, C, and D, who opened this door. If you don't have that, that's a shortcoming. So many of our young people are children of other young people. And there's this disconnect that, like, you and I remember grandmother wisdom, granddaddy wisdom, you know. But now when the grandmother is 45 and, you know, the daughter is 25 and the child is 12 or 13, and there's no grandmother wisdom or grandfather wisdom being passed down. Everybody's struggling to maintain doing what they're doing, so the kids don't get that basis. Think about the things your dad and your granddad and your grandparents told you, some of those things. Little thing like the early bird gets the worm. Boy, you better get up out of that bed. You can't sleep late, you know. Thing like, you don't talk back to adults. I don't care what it is. When I was a kid, if I did something out in the street, there was an implied thing that whoever caught me doing it could whip my behind and send me home.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my mother found, and they called my mother and said, look, Herbert was out there doing this, and I spanked him, and I told him I'm gonna call you. And my mother would then give me a spanking because the other lady gave me a spanking. She didn't want to hear what the details were. I'm giving you a spanking because whatever you did made somebody else give you a spanking.
Right.
Now you can't talk to any child. You chastise a child, the mama, and you might have a war on your hands. You know, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we were kids, your mama could leave you with the neighbor, could leave you with other people. You go to church, there were people who took care of kids. Now, they don't even want people to take care of your kids. People's kids are often so off the chain, nobody wants to take care of them. And then many parents are afraid to have somebody. So you don't have this information coming through to even teach them about success. Many of our young people, I deal with a lot of young folks, and they'll basically say at some point, somebody gave them a copy of the book. I get a lot of letters from prisoners. They said they went to prison. This guy had the 12 Universal Laws of Success, and he read it, and they let him read it. And I get a letter, and they say, can you please send me a copy? Any prisoner that writes me, I send them a book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why success, these principles are not out there.
Is it possible to learn these principles? Can it be fun? Could it be fun to learn these success principles? Could it be fun?
Yeah.
You make it fun to learning it.
Fun. A young man, I had a conference on Thursday, and a young man who's running for the school board, and he won the primary, so they're gearing up for the general election. And he said, Dr. Harris, you don't remember? He said, I was in one of those weekend programs at the university where they took middle school kids to the university, and we taught success to middle schoolers, and we made it interesting. That's when we did the loud affirmations together. Everybody giving affirmation. You make up one, you make up one. And so we did a whole interactive type training because these are middle schools. They weren't waiting to let's read the book together. No, they needed to hear the message on a certain level. And so you can reach the kids, but you have to do it in a way that they understand and that they respond to.
Okay. Now, a lot of people are readers and a lot of people are not readers. Let's say someone came to you and said, listen, I need to take one of these 12 laws. I want to study, I want to master this one law out of the 12. Which one would you say you would recommend for that person?
Well, it all starts where they are. The law, I'd take them almost in order. Because if your thinking is not right, nothing else is going to be right. You know? And so I'd say the first thing, you really have to control your thinking. Think about positive things. Think about things that you want to do, be, and have. Think about relationships that you want to be in. Think about how you want your life to look. And so that would be where I'd start. I'd say the main thing, you got to start to control your thinking. Buddha says it, you become what you think about. Earl Nightingale says it, you become what you think about. The Bible says it, you become what you think about. And so say, hey, as an exercise, let's just think positive thoughts. So instead of thinking, I'm going to fight, say, I'm going to love. Instead of saying, I'm afraid, say, I'm courageous. And start to program your thoughts. So that's why I almost walk them through with that. I start with the thought because it all begins in thought.
So what are you working on now? Do you have any classes that you're teaching? Like, what are you working on now? What projects are you working on?
Well, we have our home study course.
Home study course, okay.
And one of the things you sort of touched on it, so many of the young people have gotten away from reading. And a book like The 12 Universal Laws of Success, it was kind of designed to read and write in it and roll it up under your arm and that kind of stuff. Now everything is so digital and on the phone, plus it is unstructured. And by that, I mean, many times people have to learn when they have the time to learn. And so we put the home study course together, and it's 4 audio tapes, about a half hour each, and a workbook that goes with it. And you can do it at your pace. And then you use the book as a reference book. And our thoughts were, if you have the audio course, the home study course, and you start listening to the 4 lessons, and you start going, and in the workbook, we make reference to chapters in the book. You're going to go back and get the book. And so we are using that. Let's make it easy to learn first. So if all you have to have is the discipline to listen to it, and then the discipline to use the workbook, and you can then expand on into actually reading the book. That's one thing. So we're working on that. We have a couple more courses, a course on entrepreneurship, because right now, when they say nobody wants to work, you can't find enough employees. The pandemic has taught us that you don't have to stay in that job. You know, many times people thought if they didn't have a 9 to 5, they'd starve. But the pandemic has taught folks, you don't have to go down there. There are other ways to make a living. You know, you had the government thing, but that there are other choices you can make now. And a lot of people are now looking for other ways. And so entrepreneurship is going to be one of the key ways in the future. So we have a home study course on how to become an entrepreneur. So those are our 2 main features. And then the next book, which will start, as a matter of fact, we are doing it in a serial fashion. And it's going to be 12 chapters, but we're going to be dealing with some of the challenges people have in life and how to, it's going to be more like an applied version of the 12 Universal Laws of Success to give you some more step-by-step stuff on how to do it.
Let me get the website to get that information.
Yes, our information is on www.herbertharris.com. That's HerbertHarris.com. And you can see the information about the book, the home study course, and also there's a contact sheet. And if you fill in that contact sheet, we'll send you a free 12 affirmation poster that we recommend people use the affirmation poster to help program their minds each day. And we often send them a free audio tape on some of the topics that I think would be of interest. So HerbertHarris.com, the books and all of my materials are there to review and to purchase, and to go to our contact us and put in your name and email address, and we'll follow up and get you some powerful information.
Dr. Herbert Harris, I want to thank you for being a champion. I want to thank you for doing the wonderful, magnificent work that you're doing and will continue to do. And you always have my support. I want you to know that.
Thank you so much, Ricky. And you keep doing what you're doing, man. You've been doing interviews with great people and bringing a lot of insight to people. You know, when your program comes on early in the morning, I know you meet people sometimes, they say, man, I woke up and I was laying there and I heard your program and I set up, let me pay attention. And they heard that nugget, that key. That's where we're back to the key again. They heard that one little thing, they say, I need to know more. and change their lives.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Herbert Harris. I will talk to you soon and continue doing the great work. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ricky. You keep doing what you're doing, man. Remember, if you say it's in your hands.
All right. Thank you.
Peace.
All right. This is Rick Young signing off at GHCR and also WHCR signing off. I want to thank everybody for listening, and you are a success, and make sure you use what's in your hand. All right. Peace.
The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Dear basketball. From the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. A love so deep, I gave you my all. From my mind and body to my spirit and soul. As a 6-year-old boy, deeply in love with you, I never saw the end of the tunnel. I only saw myself running out of one. And so I ran. I ran up and down every court after every loose ball for you. You asked for my hustle. I gave you my heart. Because it came with so much more. I played through the sweat and the hurt. Not because challenge called me, but because you called me.